Don't do that. So, what I would like to do is to tell you a little bit about Clyde. We're both educators. I grew up in Rochester. His first teaching job was in Pine Island, and Pine Island is where the Rossies do their family reunion. So, I know that's kind of a stretch for a connection, but I feel connected. He's the official Minnesota Twins curator, and he brings alive the history of the Twins through stories and baseball memorabilia. Before he became the only full-time curator in Major League Baseball, a position he's held with the Twins since 2009, Clyde Doepner was both an avid collector of Twins memorabilia and a longtime history teacher at Tartan High School. His association with the Twins grew out of a chance encounter with former owner Calvin Griffith, and his collection of team memorabilia became particularly notable when the organization had the first TwinsFest at the Metrodome in 1989. Being hired in 2009 as a full-time employee, he said, was his dream job. Doepner has logged memorabilia from all generations of Twins baseball, Harmon Killebrew to Kirby Puckett to Joe Mauer, and now, among his favorite pieces are those from Killebrew, a player he considers his hero. But the collection still is growing, as are the stories. So could you please give Clyde Doepner a round of applause?
Thank you. I'll use the mic here. I usually don't, and I got a big mouth. Clyde Doepner, curator. Curators collect. I have collected since the first game, April 21st, 1961. Went to the first game with my dad. I got a bobblehead, my ticket stub. Always keep ticket stubs while you could. It's past tense now. One of the biggest complaints we get since we have gone paperless is people that collected ticket stubs to prove they were at an event can no longer do that. And so it's one of the things we miss. I still have my ticket stub from 1965, but halfway through the year, on August 27th, was it, when the Beatles played at Met Stadium. And so there were only 17,000 people there, but there's about 50,000 people claim they were there. So that's where your ticket stub comes in handy to prove you're being honest. Baseball, why do I like baseball so much? Baseball is different from every other sport in 17 different ways. I'm not going to go through all 17 because if I look up and you're gone, I'll know it's over, okay? But a couple to make you think a little bit. Baseball is the only sport where the player scores the point. Think about it. In basketball, did the ball release from his hand in time? In football, a replay will show if the ball crossed the line. In hockey, did the puck cross the line, etc. But in baseball, it's the person that touches the base and makes that a reality. Baseball is the only sport that when you're on offense, thank you very much, that when you're on offense, the other team has the ball. Think about that. Football, when you offense, you come out there and they give you the ball. In basketball, it's 50-50. They throw it up in the air and a couple of tall, skinny guys jump for it. And one of them gets it for his team. In hockey, they do the opposite. They throw something on the ice and you start swinging away. But in baseball, it's totally different how they handle that. Baseball is a nice sport. What do I mean by that? In every other sport, it's up in the air who gets to do what first, with the basketball being thrown in the air or the puck going down. But in baseball, we say, you know, you came all the way from New York to play us. You get to hit first. Now, isn't that nice? It's just a really good, feel-good thing. It's the only sport not played on a rectangular field. Every other sport, and yes, I could be corrected, and I'm talking American sports. I got corrected last year by an English gentleman that pointed out a few fallacies in my statement. And so, but in baseball, it's a rectangular field? No. In baseball, it's a diamond that goes to the outfield. There is no requirement how big the outfield has to be. In Boston, they didn't have enough room in left field. So what do? Let's put up a great big green wall. And that is part of what they have. Baseball is the only sport where something can happen out of bounds that counts. In every other sport, if you're out of bounds, whatever happens doesn't count. Basketball, you step on the line, out of bounds, other team gets the ball. Football, when a quarterback drops back and there's nobody open and you throw the ball out of bounds, you can't have a defensive back run 20 yards out of bounds and intercept it. But in baseball, Joe Mauer could even reach behind the screen. So he's not only out of bounds, he's out of the playing field and made a fantastic catch that's legendary. So there's a lot of things like that. It's changing a little bit, but baseball is the only sport without a time limit telling you when the game's over. My wife loves baseball, but it should last 57 minutes, okay? No matter what's happening, game's over, let's go have a glass of wine and celebrate. And baseball can go on an awful long time. So there's a lot of unique things about baseball. And it's one of the many, many reasons that I really like baseball. So baseball curators, and I am still the only full-time curator in Major League Baseball. Why? Because Carl Pohlad said so. I tip my hat to Carl Pohlad every day. At the first TwinsFest, as they mentioned, 1989, Carl came into the Metrodome, looked around, and said, wow. He said, did you do those displays? I had 12 10-foot display cases. And it was the first time anyone had done a big baseball display in the Twin Cities, certainly. And I said, yeah. He said, well, I know you did the only display case at the Metrodome, but I didn't know you had that much. And I said, yeah, I've got a few thousand items, Carl, and I'm glad to have a chance. Thanks for what you do. And he said, but I've got an observation, Clyde. Look at the fans lined up to see it. And he said something that's been my mantra ever since. He said, it's apparent to me, Carl Pohlad, that fans getting to see memorabilia enhances their game day experience. And that's really a definition of what I try to do. We have it's hard to be inside target field and not be within 20 feet of a display. It was built with memorabilia in mind. And I was lucky to be there from day one and suggest this and suggest that. When Joe Mauer went in the Hall of Fame, we got 2 new cases for Joe and so forth and so on. It's an ongoing experience. Okay, today's topic, and I'm looking at my clock. And he's good. He's going to sneak behind me when my time's up. Okay. What he alluded to, I want to quick say, but I can give you the rest of the story. Last year, and I will not throw another Rotary under the bus, but it was another Rotary south of here. And at most morning Rotaries, I have 20 minutes max. And at 8 o'clock, they get up and leave. And I understand they have jobs. I'm the curator. I could talk baseball all day, and it's part of my job. And so this gentleman introduced me. And when he started, I had 21 minutes. And I'm looking at it. And honest to goodness, he took 18 minutes to introduce me. He went on and on and on and let everybody know how much he knew about baseball. And I had 3 minutes. And when I stood up, it's the first and only time I've ever started to talk by saying, does anyone have a question about what he just said? And they had a couple of questions. It was 8 o'clock and they left. And then I fought traffic to go to work, which I usually don't have to do because I'm the first one there every morning at about 6:30. Because sleep's overrated. I really believe that. Okay, my topic today is going to be, how do I know it's real? In this day and age, there's many forgeries out there. And I want to do something today to show you how I know it's real. Now, you've all got a sheet in front of you, different colors, they all mean the same thing. Look at number 1. Number 1 is a hologram that you can't read and I can't read, and it's hard to read when you've seen it in person. So I, through the magic of enlarging, look at number 2, okay? So on number 2, this is what a hologram is. It's about 3/4 of an inch high. It's about an inch long. And Major League Baseball has 2 people with a roll of these at every game. One sits in the home dugout, one sits in the away dugout. Can be a man or woman, but they have to be a retired police officer. Why? Because they have a better background check than anybody else, I guess. And so they're there. I work with them. So any item that comes in or out of a game gets hologrammed. They actually keep track of jerseys now. They can scan them. And every jersey is scanned. So I can get a jersey and it'll tell me if they wore it on April 10th, May 17th, July 8th, and then I get it. And then you go back and check what happened on those dates to see if anything significant happened. So they put a hologram on any ball that comes out. You'll see the ump. I can almost guarantee you one of the first 5 pitches of a game is going to be a ball in the dirt or a foul ball or something. The ump looks at it and goes, oh no, it's got a mark. And he rolls it over to the Twins dugout, and the hologram person puts a hologram on it. And then forever, what do you do with that hologram? You put it, it has 2 letters and 6 numbers. Every year the letters change. They don't mean a thing other than the Twins that year. And so you go to your computer, and if you look at the hologram number on this here, I blew it up enough, you should read it, FJ, and then the 6 numbers. And you go to your computer and bring up the MLB, Major League Baseball website, and you put in FJ 203, 306, whatever the numbers are that year, and you hit print. And what do you get? You get number 3. And when you get number 3, you can see what number 3 all says to you. And you read the first line, and it just says, database game used jersey. So it's going to be a game used jersey, and I'm going to walk over to the table here, but I have a big mouth and you can hear me. I walk over to the table here and I pick up a jersey. And this, I know I got to get back here. And I pick up a jersey, and this is the jersey I'm talking about. We have a problem. It says number 42 on it. No one can wear number 42 anymore because they retired that number in 1997 in honor of Jackie Robinson's 50th anniversary of breaking the color barrier in baseball. So on April 15th, every year, everyone wears number 42. So there's a problem. When I get a jersey number 42, whose is it? Because everybody wore it. Well, I want Joe Mauer, so I'm going to say mine's Joe Mauer's. Well, no, I want Morneau's, the jersey, so I'm going to say it's Morneau's. So I have to prove it. So on the jersey, we put usually the holograms on the number in the back. Some of them prefer on the label in the front, so those are the 2 places I look. There's a hologram on here, and it's the hologram we're talking about on this. So I need to prove to you whose jersey this is. So as we read across this, it says Texas at Minnesota. Okay, doesn't prove too much. Session date, April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day, 2012. It says, it was done by the Authentics Incorporated, which is the official company. And then it says, additional information, Joe Mauer. So that's how every item with the hologram is listed. It's not real exciting, but you would then have proof that what you have is what we claim it is. And that's how we prove things are real or not. I would not recommend anyone buy something that's autographed that you didn't see it being autographed and without a hologram on it, because that proves it. When I'm at spring training, and that's a tough part of my job, and 20, what is today, the 7th? Yes, you better know that. It's my middle son's 54th birthday today. I gotta remember to call him when I get home. Or actually going to Mancini's for supper tonight. And so when you have a particular time, when you have a particular date, you have to be able to prove it. And I'm going back to this. You have to be able to prove what it is. And that's at what we do. At spring training, when somebody comes up to me and says, can you help me get Carlos Correa's autograph? Yes, I can, young man. But make sure you have the player put his number by the autograph. Back when we were younger, and some of you don't qualify because you still are, back when we were younger, cursive was an important skill. And when Harmon Killebrew wrote his name, or when little Clyde Doepner writes his name, you can read every letter. Today's ball players, you cannot, in many cases, you cannot understand one letter, much less any letters. And if you put the number, you can always go to the program, look it up and see whose autograph you got. And if you saw it in person, you don't need a hologram, but don't get caught by somebody else. Okay, now here's something else they put on jerseys though. Look at number 4. Number 4 says on the jersey 7. Well, that's Joe's number. 52, that's Joe's size. He's a big, healthy young man, and the year. So they do add that to jerseys now when they don't have holograms. The hologram proves the day it was worn, and if anything else significant happened that day. Now, number 5 here is my card. If, as a thank you for having me out here today, if you're ever going to be at a Twins game, please call me ahead of time, and I will meet you, and I will give you a free, you always get your money's worth, I will give you a free 20-minute to an hour tour before the game, take you around Memorabilia. We have a wonderful tour group that charges for games, but with me, I can bring you places they can, and I think you'll get a kick out of doing it. And so if you ever get a group together, we talked about that, or whatever, we'd love to show off. Now I've got enough time to quickly walk down the jerseys. I want to talk about jerseys because somebody could say now, when did they start this? 2003. What did you do before you had holograms? And I'll quickly show you. Okay, first of all, we'll hold up a jersey that would have been the style used between is it okay if I'm here? Are you videoing it?
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this would have been used between 1961 and 1974. They made it real easy back then. They sewed the name of the player in the jersey. Down here, they put 40, the size, 1969, the year, and set 2. Players get 2 sets for home, 2 sets for away. One you're wearing, and one every once in a while something will happen, and they have to quick switch it out. Jersey number 1, name Billy Martin. So this is Billy Martin's only year as manager for the Twins. He had a wonderful year on the field, The first year they had playoffs, East Division, West Division in the American and National League. We won the West. And what does Billy do during the year? He punches out his best pitcher, Dave Boswell. He misses 2 starts. He punches out Howard Fox, the guy that signed his paycheck in an argument, and they fired him at the end of the year. Never punch out your best pitcher, your boss. It's just not a good thing to do. So that made it real easy. Then you run into jerseys like this. You go with the magic number, that's 3. The only player to ever wear number 3 is Harmon Killebrew, but he was probably bigger than that when he was born. That's his wife's jersey when they had the yearly husband-wife baseball game. And men were smarter back then. The men never won the game. The wives won every game. Happy wife, happy life, right, when they got home. Same thing here, Bob Allison's number. This was worn during the men-boy, it was sexist back then, the dad, father-son game that they had every year. Girls couldn't play. They've corrected all that, thank goodness. You can have a jersey like this that was never worn in the Twins game, but it was donated to the Twins on April 15th of Jackie Robinson's retirement number. His wife, Rachel, went around. I had Rachel autograph it. She went around and gave a jersey to every team to commemorate retiring Jackie's number. Of course, he had unfortunately passed away by that time. Okay, other things we run into. Green jersey. When would you ever wear a green jersey? And St. Patrick's Day in spring training. Only player, once again, to wear this number. If you're going to have one for show and tell, you might also have Harmon Killebrew, one of my dearest friends in life. Okay, I know I'm running out of time. I'm speeding it up here for you. And so, 71 green. What's significant about that? Joe Mauer's signing jersey that I have in display at Target Field is number 71. The next year at spring training, I guessed right. I said this year at spring training, I'll take Harmon's number and I'll take Joe Mauer's. Harmon as a coach. This is Joe Mauer's first spring training jersey on St. Patrick's Day. We can go, I'll do this next. Okay, when I talk to little poopers, kids, I always say, how many of you like spelling? Oh, the boys look at the ground and look around. Girls raise their hands. Okay. So I tell the boys, don't ever work for a jersey company. Don't. If you said to me, what's the most valuable jersey you have? Historically, I could tell a lot of stories. I don't have time right now. But financially, some of these are worth some real money. But as far as uniqueness, this jersey is the rarest jersey in the history of baseball. It's the only time in the history of baseball a player has ever worn a jersey in a game with the name of the team spelled wrong. And to make it worse, that's the state we live in. Okay? So somebody must have gone on break, and they're all individually sewn on, M-I-N-N-E-S, and they only had 3 letters left. And they went on lunch break or whatever. How could you possibly screw it up? Exhibit A. Okay. Adam Everett in a game. First road game of the year. If it's Minnesota on the front, it's an away jersey. If it's Twins on the front, it's a home jersey. Somebody could correct me on that, because last year we had a player, a pitcher, I won't throw him under the bus, that was having a bad year. So he blamed the uniform, the color, not lack of ability, okay? So he talked Rod McCormick in to letting him wear an away jersey at Target Field. So if I say, if it says Minnesota, it's always an away jersey. I can't say always anymore. I have to say unless.
and I said that. So away jersey, first game of the year, it's all tagged 12, Adam Everett's name, number, 42 size, 2008. That jersey was worn 3 innings. And a player that used to play for the team, Dennis Hawkins, said, called the clubhouse and said, I've been watching the game. Turn Adam Everett around. Something's wrong in the front. And they did. And I got on the phone and I called the clubhouse too and said, Clyde the collector, Clyde the curator wants that jersey. And I have that jersey. So as we go through, there's many other stories. How do you know spring training? They put a special patch on the sleeve. They look just like every other yearly jersey. This says Florida 2019. Okay, fast job getting through that. Thank you for not kicking me like I told them to do. Questions? I love questions. Yes, sir.
This is an observation. I think it's interesting because I have the number 3 Killebrew. It's not a signed one, so I'm trying to swear, but it has the pinstripes.
Yeah.
And I'll see people wear the pinstripes with the name Killebrew on it.
Yeah.
And I go,
You never.
Calvin never put the name Killebrew on the jerseys with the pinstripes.
Exactly.
Because he wanted you to spend the nickel to buy the scorecard.
Yeah.
So I go, you guys are messed up. It bothers me. Because I'm a huge collector, you know, but now the only one that had his name spelled on it was the powder blue one, the
Right.
softball jersey.
Yeah, you're absolutely
So,
right.
you know, that's-
Last year we did Walter Johnson Day. We did the celebration, I call it Walter Johnson Day, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of our franchise, the Washington Senators winning their only World Series. So I'm at a meeting and they decided, if you're out there, we've retired numbers and they're down the left field line. And they decided we're gonna have a big circle and let's to represent all of the senators, and there's a number of them in the Baseball Hall of Fame. To represent them, let's retire Walter Johnson's number. Great idea. I raised my hand and I said, you can't do that. And they said, well, what do you mean we can't? Is there a law against it? I said, they didn't wear numbers back then. So Walter Johnson never had a number. When did numbers start? The New York Yankees. Why was Babe Ruth number 3? Because he hit third. Why was Lou Gehrig 4? Because he hit fourth. So they got the idea to number them according to their batting order. And there's other attempts and other side stories on that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, thanks for being here. What is like an average week like for you? I know you said you're full-time.
Average
so-
week?
Yeah, like what are,
Off season like this,
sure.
I'm missing a meeting right now on TwinsFest. And so we work on TwinsFest, and then we'll have a meeting on promotions, on ideas, what we're gonna give away this year. And there's just an awful lot of archive planning. I met with the person, Jake, that's in charge of selling memorabilia. See, I don't do that. I'm a collector. I collected probably 20,000 items for the Twins, and in my personal collection, I have almost 18,000 items. And I never differentiate, we blend them together. I hope to have a museum someday, and then everything, because it's us, it's your stuff, it's my stuff. It's for the fans to see. And, but I do help him out when he tries to come up. I have one of the foul poles from the Metrodome. It's mesh, it isn't metal, it's about this wide. It's like a big fishing net, but it went all the way up to the roof. And so we have a meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock with a company, and I don't believe in cutting jerseys up. I hate it when there's a baseball card with a piece of jersey on it. Oh, everything I don't believe in. But that big net, that I have no idea what I was gonna do with, but when they said you want it, of course I do. So they're gonna take strands of the net and have a card made up to have a piece of them, I say a piece of the Metrodome. And we'll do that. Once end of the month comes, then they make me go to spring training for 6 weeks. And I hear it gets cold in February. I hope I never know again. That's one time my wife forgives me for all my wrongs, because obviously she comes with me. And then as soon as I get back, I have 3 weeks of my busiest time. 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I clean every case. I don't want other people to do it, just because. And part of it is my problem. Like I'll be in Harmon Killebrew's case, I have an oilcloth. It should take 15 seconds to rub the bat twice and put it in. I'll be holding that bat 10 minutes later, remembering what Harmon and I did the day he gave me the bat. He was one of my dearest friends in life. And so part of it is not the structure or stress of the work, it's the mentality of the person doing it, me. And then once the season starts, I gave 218 talks last year. This is number 1. And so I do a lot of PR stuff for the Twins on and off site.
So your hands involved,
And
you're involved
so,
in lots of
yeah,
different
and
areas.
then every game, I'm there every game, because you never know when something happens that you gotta have for the fans to see. Question?
You put a hologram on a jersey, it sounds as soon as it comes off the back. Does that mean that a jersey is never worn twice?
No, it's a good question. It could have sounded that way. A jersey can be worn 4 or 5 times. They put a jersey on, hologram on it the first time. And let's see, where can I best, well, they'll have, this down here. They can scan this. It's got one of the, what do you call that goofy thing? You scan it with your camera and you can bring it up. Yeah, it's got a real QR code. It's got some real fancy name too. And so when the player walks by to go on the field, it's red. They have readers. So they don't need, first years they had to hand scan them. Now you're scanned when you go out. So we can get jerseys that were worn 6, 7 times. We put a hologram on it if I want it, but I don't get the jersey right away because they're expensive. They only have 2. If I take one now and they go on the road and they need that jersey, what do you do? So there are times that I have to wait till the end of the year to get a really significant jersey because it was hologram. So holograms are when it's really significant to me. They're scanned because I might not know that that was his first home run of 40 that year. And you like to have the first and last one of that. So yeah, I'd rather have too much than not enough. And if you say please, and if I ever get back and I can tell you how I got to be curator by saying thank you to Calvin Griffith, which led to thousands of items that would have been thrown in the landfill. If he found out when they were moving from the Met to the Metrodome that all the stuff he stored free at the Met had to be paid by the square foot at the Metrodome. And he was frugal, that's a nice word. In his defense, he didn't have money. Calvin only had money if the team made money. And so when his uncle, father, that people say he was adopted, he wasn't officially ever adopted, but when Uncle Clark took him and Thelma and they inherited the team. And when he found out that they were gonna charge him a square foot, he said, throw everything. His birth brother, Billy, said, well, Clyde really likes this stuff, because I was there already. Clyde really well, tell him, come and get this crap, but get it out of here. And I went out there and got 4,000 items in 31 days, and Harmon's first contract, and they threw everything. So all because I'd said thank you, so always say thank you.
Where do you,
Pardon?
where do you store it then? I mean, those that are, the items that are not displayed.
Yeah,
Where are they
I have
stored now?
2 archive rooms at Target Field. And I guessed right, 51 years ago, I bought a big old Victorian house in St. Paul when they were $49.9. I thought I just inherited the national debt. And the 3rd floor it's a big house. And the 3rd floor, my upstairs is probably as big as this. And the 3rd floor is a ballroom for parties. And when we moved in, I told my wife, that's my toy room. And to this day, she honors that. Because if I find something and stick it any other place in the house, it's a series of curved stairways going up. Within 2 days, it'll be by the third floor with a post-it note, nice try. It eventually ends up upstairs. I won the lottery when I married this lady. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question, where is the hologram, where does that get put on at?
It gets either on the number on the back.
Who puts it on?
Oh, one of the two people hired by Major League Baseball.
Okay.
And then they keep a record.
Gotcha.
And they enter it into the system, and it's the most honorable thing in the world. Yes,
I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
Number one, if I have a specific question, can I email you?
of course,
And
right
then-
there, yeah.
Yep, I'm keeping that. Do you ever wash the jerseys, or does it make it difference?
Okay, on Joe Mauer's jersey, I could have looked at it and you would have said, you know, it's kind of dirty. And
Yeah.
I've got a lady at the University of Minnesota. And if I I know our dirt is okay. We've had it checked, seriously. You don't want to make sure there isn't any lime in it or anything acidic that might eat away at the jersey. But when we have a road game, I'm not that confident about what other people use for fertilizers or whatever. And so she'll check the jersey and do a little, what I call an acid test. And it lets me know if I have to wash it or not. With Joe Mauer, I like a couple of his to be just as filthy as they were when he took them off. They do have a spray deodorant, I'll call it, that takes away any sweat smell. But in fact, it's sometimes stronger than what I would have accepted on the other end. Good question. Yes, ma'am.
Do other sports use holograms for?
No, the Vikings do not use holograms, and I'm shocked. They wear different jerseys every game. And so they have a marking system they use, but they don't have a database that you can check year in and year out. Yes, sir.
Is there something in the contract when the team is sold that your job continues?
Well, I'm in the middle of a 3-year contract, so I know legally they have to honor that. and so, but no, I don't lose sleep over it because what I display, I'm the only one that displays it. And I'm the only one that cleans it. And I own a good chunk of it myself. You give me a museum and I'll give you my collection. Then my house will get a lot lighter because that third floor has over 17,000 items. They're all in display cases. So if you said, what do you have? Somebody asked me this morning about Bob Allison. So they're gonna come over tomorrow and it's a grandson of Bob Allison. And I'll have him over at the house and let him look at all of his grandpa's stuff and so forth. He's standing. Okay. Here
Clyde,
comes
would you be willing to stay a few moments afterwards?
I live here. Yeah. This will justify me missing a meeting today.
Yeah.
So I'd love to stay longer.
I'm gonna have to admit, there's a little bit of collusion here. As former educators, I said, you gotta let me let the class out early. Because they always like that, don't they?
If anybody wants to stay around, seriously, I'll be thrilled to stay around and talk to you because that's what curators do. So once again, thanks, number one, for all that you do to make this world a better place. And thanks for having me. Someday take me up on the free tour. I'd love to show off what we have at Target Field and some of the wonderful people we have at Target Field. Thank you.
Yeah, it takes a village. Thank you, Karen. Before we do the 4-way test, I'd like to, Clyde, could you come up here, please? I think we'll step over this way. When we have a speaker come, we always like to give some kind of a token of our appreciation for your coming and meeting with us and giving that wonderful, wonderful presentation. So there are note cards with pictures of Golden Valley.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and I know you like to write.
I do. Thank you.
So
Seriously.
you've got cards
From from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of my wife's heart, thanks for not giving me a cup. We went to my car. I have at least 6 months since, cups. And she says, honey, I love you, but you didn't bring another cup home, did you? We love note cards. Thank you.
That's tremendous. Thank you. Another round of applause. If there's anything else we need to say before we leave, we're gonna do, yeah, thank you, Betsy. If you're able, please rise, and we'll say the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do as Rotarians. First, is it true? Second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
fourth,
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
and fifth.
Have